Video Archives was a very relaxed atmosphere. They had popcorn available, so I'm a popcorn fan. I would eat popcorn and chat with Quentin. I always got a kick out of talking to Quentin because he was so opinionated about everything under the sun.
This is one of the few places that Quentin could come as a regular guy and get a job and become like a star, because he was like the star of the store. Since if you needed
the star of the store too.
Well, yeah, but he didn't know as much as you did. So like,
Lance knows a lot. He knows.
Yeah,
he knows. I know more about it. I know more about Italian exploitation films and TNA movies. Jess Franco than Lance.
A customer would come into the store and it could ask me maybe an obscure film, and I might be able to tell the year it was directed, who directed it, and maybe who the leads were. And Quentin would go on to tell you who the supporting cast was, who the DP was, who wrote the screenplay, and probably do a couple of scenes from the film with the dialogue verbatim. You know, that's the difference between Quentin and I.
But you see, the funnest part. See, one of
thing
the
about
funnest
like film geeks is they have an intense love for film, incredible love for film, incredible passion. They devote a lot of time, they devote a lot of money, and they devote a lot of their life to the following of film. But they don't really have that much to show for all this devotion, other than a movie poster collection or a still collection, all right? The one thing that they do have to definitely show for it is they have their opinion, all right? They have a highly developed opinion. But what you find out fairly quickly in Hollywood is this is a community where hardly anybody trusts their own opinion. People want people to tell them what is good, what to like, what not to like. Now, here I come, all right? I'm a film geek. My opinion is everything, all right? You can all disagree with me. I don't care, all right? I know I'm right as far as I'm concerned, all right? And I'll argue anybody down.
That's what he's got. I mean, you see other people go out there and they're cannier, they're cleverer, they play more games. Quentin just goes blah. And that's really refreshing in Hollywood. People like that. They're attracted to it.
Well, Jim McBride's version of Breathless was an extremely influential movie for me. Because I'm not saying it was the first movie ever to do this, but it was one of the first movies I'd ever seen. That, like, you know, all these little scenes I had been writing up until this time had, you know, characters talking about movies and stuff. And then all of a sudden I go to the theaters, you know, as it's playing at the Cinema Dome out here. I go to the theaters, and then here's a movie that is, like, indulging completely in all of my obsessions. Comic books in the form of The Silver Surfer, rockabilly music, which I love rock and roll, but I particularly love rockabilly music, you know, in the form of Jerry Lee Lewis, and then in the form of Richard Gere's character. You know, his character is like one of the most like out-and-out rockabilly characters that there is. And also in the form of movies, all right? You know, not that the characters don't sit around and talk about movies all the time, but with the use of like, obviously, you know, fake process shots going on behind them and everything, you know, throughout the whole film.
The killer rock sound, Mr. Jerry Lee Lewis and his perfect piano.
And then the way Jim McBride filmed it is he turned all of Los Angeles into like a backlot. But like this scene here, you know, just watching a scene set in front of a phony backdrop, all right, that just hangs as Richard Gere just takes over the screen and basically just sings along to a song, and like that's good enough. And then also, if you add to the fact that in this movie, Richard Gere's character is as close to unlikable as you could possibly be, and you still kind of like the guy. You know, and I like that and stuff.
Holy shit.
I was 22 when I started Video Archives, and by the time I got to about 23, I decided to make a film. And it was a film called My Best Friend's Birthday. It was a comedy. It was like almost like a Martin Lewis kind of thing. Out of the blue, I felt depressed for no reason whatsoever. Just this dark cloud hanging over my head. I was going to commit suicide. I was actually going to commit suicide. I was going to go open the bathroom, I was going to fill a tub of hot water, and I was going to slice open my veins. I was actually going to, I was going to do it. Now, for a 3-year-old to be thinking like that, that's really depressing.
You know what saved me? Was the Partridge Family. So the Partridge Family was coming on. I really wanted to see it, so I thought, okay, I'll watch the Partridge Family, then I'll kill myself. And, well, I watched it, and it was a really funny episode. It was the one where Danny got in trouble with the mom. Well, it was a really funny one. And I didn't feel like killing myself afterwards. It all kind of worked out. What were we talking about?
I've been shooting this thing for 3 years, and I thought we were making something really special. And it was kind of embarrassing when I started like really looking at it again. Now, ultimately, I think making a movie is the best film school that there ever is. And so I looked at, well, I didn't know what I was doing at the beginning, and now I know what I'm doing now, and I've had the experience, and so now, okay, but now I'm not going to make a movie like that anymore. And so I wrote True Romance. You know, I wrote it to be done for like about like $1 million, you know, $1.3 million. Pauline Kael once said in a thing, in this town you could die of encouragement. All right, well, for 3 years, well, at least for 2 years straight, when I was trying to get True Romance going, it was 2 weeks away. In 2 weeks, we'll have the deal, we'll have the money, away we go. After a certain point, I said, okay, this isn't going to happen. The reason it's not going to happen is because I tried to get too much money when I haven't done anything. Who's going to give me $1 million? All right, so then I wrote Natural Born Killers. The whole idea was, okay, I'm going to write Natural Born Killers, and I'm going to raise $500,000. Now, a year and a half, not quite 2 years, but about a year and a half passes. And I'm a little further along than I was with True Romance, but we're not going to be shooting film anytime shortly. I finally said, look, you know what? Nobody is going to give me money to make a movie. That isn't going to happen. Why would they? All right? And by this time, it looked like True Romance was going to sell, just the script, all right? And so I was going to have, like, you know, Writers Guild minimum, okay, for it, which is what I was paid for the film. So it looked like I was going to have, like, $30,000 that I could have. And so I decided, well, I'm going to write a film to do for $30,000. Shoot it in 12 days. $30,000, 16 millimeter, black and white, you know, starring some friends, and I will have a movie made and finished. By this time, I had met Lawrence, and Lawrence was a real godsend.
We were both very broke at the time. He didn't have a car, so he couldn't drive over to my place. I didn't have money, so I wasn't paying for Xeroxes. You know, so I came over to his place and I read the script, and I flipped over it. It was an extraordinary piece of writing, and I said, look, you got to give me some time. I think I can raise some real money for this movie.